Welcome to another installment of Cracking Open, the podcast brought to you by the Sage Circle. In this series, I interview Sage Circle members to find out about their intuitive journey and development. Today's guest is Kristen, and she shares with us her mediumship experience as a youth that set her on her intuitive course, how her grandmother gave her extra support she needed, and a fun story of her results using GCP. Let's jump into Cracking Open.
This podcast is brought to you by the SAGE Method, the most comprehensive and down-to-earth intuitive development training available. Is this your year? Is it finally your time to increase your intuition, bring in more abundance, and experience the bliss you deserve? If yes, then join thousands of students across the world for a 7-week journey to uncover your natural, beautiful, and strong intuition. Visit us at thesagemethod.com for more information.
Welcome to another episode of Cracking Open, the podcast. I am here today with Kristen, and I am so excited, Kristen. You are such an amazing circle member, and you've been in the circle for a while. I'm just so grateful that you're here with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Let's jump right on in. I want to know about your intuition. When were you first aware of it? How did it unfold for you?
So I was young. I was about 12 years old. And I was in 8th grade. I grew up in a very structured religion, which was very strict. And I sort of knew the whole time I just had these qualms with certain things. I really liked it. I liked certain parts of it, but other parts I was always questioning what happened to us after that, always asking that question. And when I was in 8th grade, as I was saying, my teacher lost her daughter. She was only 3 years old. And it was just tragic. And I was beside myself. I saw her hours before it happened. And I just remember my heart just fleeting. I was like, how does this happen? And I knew I could feel, because sometimes, even if you're very devout in a religion, you can start questioning it. When things like that happen, you're like, what, why, how? And it's like, whoa. And it blows you over. And so, in between the ceremonial things, it was all within the week that she had passed. I was, sleeping in bed. I wasn't sleeping, but I was awake, and I was like, I could just feel my heart. It was just, just wondering, and just like, why and things. And I felt, I just felt very strongly. And then I felt something at my feet, and I looked down, and there is the 3-year-old standing 75 to 80% there. I shot straight up in my bed and pulled my feet towards me. I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. This is happening. And I just, and she looked at me and she said, I want my mommy. And I was like, is there a light? You're trying not to freeze because you want to help, you just have that like, oh my goodness gracious, And so I said, is there a light? Do you see a light? Go to the light. And she disappeared. And all I could do is kind of, hold myself in a little ball, hoping that this little soul found her way. I was so just hoping for her that she was okay. And, she was with the love and with the light and everything. So it was very profound. It was very profound in my life. It was just that moment in time where some things are answered that I wouldn't, in what I grew up in the faith, it's not really answered for you. It's like if you do A, B, and C, then you'll get to D.
Yeah. And
then you don't know about D. You got to have the faith. And then when you get to D, then you'll find out. So, but of course, me being the curious person, I'm like, no, I want to know what you got to tell me what's happening. Cause I think I already had that sense. Mm-hmm. I think I always had that connection. I was very empathic. I was a very strange child. And I would cry, I would get upset. And my mom was very strong. She's a nurse. She's still a nurse. She's been a nurse 50 years. She's like, why are you like, kind of like, why are you like this? And not in a mean way, but it was like, you could see me crying like, oh no, I don't want to be like this. Yeah. I don't want to be upset. So I'm not sure why this is. And I think then you just start sort of building this wall around you because you don't want, you get bullied and all this other stuff because you just feel things. So.
And you're different.
Exactly.
And, to have it open up that young, and on top, it's already tough to go through the teen years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. and then to
Right.
have that on top of it. And it sounds like you've got that deep empathic thing set with you for, probably since birth.
Right. I call myself a human antenna because I just pick up things. So I also gave her a poem too, and I love this poem, and I really should share it. If you want me to share it, I don't know if I can. I might start crying because I found it and I thought I have to do something for my teacher. I have to do, because I loved her. She's one of my favorite teachers, and I have to do something. So I went to Walgreens. My mom was a card person.
Yeah.
So I found this card and I was like, this is it. This is what she needs to know. And it had this poem on the front. And this poem ended up being on the program for her service, for her funeral. And like the whole school turned out, obviously a lot of, like, besides the youngers, but the junior high went and everything. So if you want me to share it with you, I will.
I would love that.
Are you ready? Here we go. It goes, do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on the snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning hush, I am the uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps.
Goosebumps.
Right?
And I'm like, but the tears, I think the tears come from that unconditional love, because that's what it is. It's pure love. And that love is I feel like it's such a high vibration. Our bodies, our physical bodies, kind of don't know how to utilize it. So it comes out in tears. That's what I like to say.
Yeah, that really resonates. That really resonates. So at that age, you have a spiritual connection with that little girl, assisting her in finding her way, deeply meaningful. Sounds like you kind of quietly went through those teen years and early 20s.
Yes, because as I said, the faith that I grew up in, it was taboo. Like, we didn't talk about that stuff. My grandmother, of course, I had to bring a grandmother because she was awesome. And my grandpa was awesome too. And my mom's parents, both of them were, but I was closer to my mom's parents, and my grandma actually had a Ouija board. Yes. And when the next year she pulled it out, and it was one of those old school big ones. And she's like, you know what I like to ask? I like to ask, what are the initials of your husband going to be? And we got to it and we pulled out D and C. And now I had some things before I married my husband now, but I knew I wasn't supposed to, this is my second marriage I'm in. I knew I wasn't supposed to get married the first time. I had my daughter. So when I met my husband now, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together, but his initials are DC.
Nice. How cool is that?
Yeah, that was an amazing moment. So I love my grandma. She always told me, she's like, the angels are watching you, the angels are watching you. So
just a quick shout out to all those grandmas out there.
Yeah, because
I know people that are listening that are like, yep, my grandma had a huge impact in my life as well. And they are that unconditional love.
Yes.
If you're lucky to have that.
That's just, she told me, she always said that. She's like, you are love. You're full of love. You're loved, and you're beautiful. And like, I was very fortunate. I consider myself extremely lucky to have that, because they just taught me all about love and unconditional love and how it works and how it is.
And that's the basis of it. That's the basics. That's the foundation of intuition. So tell me about another significant intuitive moment, because clearly you have some mediumship skills. Have you had other moments that were really impactful?
Well, let's just say I actually want to fast forward. I've had many, and they usually come to the foot of my bed, but I'm not practiced in it. It doesn't happen. I've actually last night just came up with the brilliant idea to grid before I sleep. I GCP. I'm like, I want to set up a grid, because sometimes, as a lot of people in the circle, I'm sure know, sometimes when we sleep, a lot of things come to us. So I set up a grid, and it did work. It worked pretty well. I think it filtered some of the things that normally come through. But fast forwarding, one of my favorite intuitive experiences was when I found your white room, when I got to the meditations in the Sage Circle course. And I was like, all right, because I had been doing the same meditations. I learned about meditations from Buddhism. I had to learn about all the other major religions. So when I learned about Buddhism, I started a meditation practice. I thought, this is pretty cool. So I've been meditating for a long time, and I had these meditations for years. And I thought, I'm like, yay. I was like, Bo has more meditations for me, and this is a different format. So let's see what happens. So when I did the white room, that's my jam. I don't think it was the first time either, by the way. Even though I've meditated for so long, I still have things don't always happen in my meditations. But it was like the second time I got to the white room, and I'm sitting there, and I sat and I'm waiting, and here came a Native American and sat in front of me. And I was like, this is happening. That's my favorite thing. I was like, this is happening. I was like, so I patiently sat there, and I thought, okay, be cool, just be cool. Don't scare him. You know, because sometimes when you get to that point, you just stuff kind of fleets away from you. So I'm like trying to be cool, and then all of a sudden, like, this giant eagle comes and sits on his shoulder, and I was like, whoa, we're just sitting there like, Lord, and this is happening again. And then I said, all I could get out of my mouth was, what's your name? And very slowly he said, Chief White Horse. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I was like, because I was following, write down, what, and look it up. So as soon as I was done, I was like flailing over to my, phone, like, oh my gosh, I have to look this up immediately. And as soon as I pulled up Chief White Horse, it came up that he was an Osage of the Osage Indian tribe in Oklahoma. He lived to be about 108, 109, second to the last of his lineage for being chief. And you're never going to believe who was the next in line was his son, and he was White Horse Eagle.
Oh, wow.
So I had goosebumps. I was like, whoa, I was like, this happened, because then of course, coming from the scientific, like I said, in the religious background where you're not supposed to talk about this stuff and, all this, that's where your confirmation, your validation is like, yes, you're like, yes, this is it. And then I try to pull it back, of course I try to pull it back. I'm like, no, I don't need this validation. I don't need this. But it's just so cool to see it. It's just so cool to see it and to be like, oh, this happened. It did. That happened.
Well, we don't need it, but it's encouraging, isn't it?
It is. It's always good to be validated. It's always good.
Yeah, and it helps. It's like, okay, this happened and these pieces came together. So I don't know. I think it just expands it and it opens it a little further every time that happens. That is really cool.
It was super cool. I'm so happy to be able to tell you, because I was like, you just want to get on the phone, but there's not too many people you can call and tell. I did tell my best friend, but she sort of looked at me like I saw the dancing frog and she didn't, but she's behind me. But absolutely, it's just funny to see the face.
She loves you unconditionally.
That's right. That's right. She's like, cool.
Well, I'm actually really even more grateful now that you're in the circle, because there are people to be able to share this with.
Oh yeah, that's why that's the huge thing, is that I do have some people that I met, and I can go on Messenger and be like, hey, this happened to me. Or you can post it up in Facebook, which I think it's kind of funny that it's like, okay, quick, get a bunch of introverts together. Because I think a lot of people who are like, let's get a bunch of introverts together and see who talks. And I have to laugh because I'm like, that's me. I'm like, I try to put things out there, but it's just like, I feel like I have, other Sage students are like, go, Kristen, just do it. And it's really awesome to have that, because they're like, no, you're right, just go. It's like the other validation. So you have
the encouragement.
Exactly.
That is hysterical, because you're so spot on. It's like a bunch of introverts get together into this Sage circle, and we're all like, you okay? I'm okay. We're okay. This is awesome. And then they can slowly have this place where they can start to talk about it, because these things happen and they're these bizarre experiences sometimes, and you have to filter them or change them to share them with, sometimes the people closest to you. Right. But at least in the community, you can just be like, okay, then I saw this frog, and then the frog did this, and then the frog did that. And then somebody's always going to come back and be like, oh, that happened to me last month. Okay. Yeah, it's really, but that's a great way to explain it. Great way to explain it. I love it.
I love it. I love everyone in this circle. Everyone's awesome.
They are. I'm so grateful for it. So moving forward then, here we are today, and you're using your intuition on a regular basis. Love that you put the grid up around your bed. That was super smart. So what parts of your life do you find are even more positive as a result of this not maintaining, but consistently following your spiritual path?
A lot of peace. A lot of peace in my heart, and more peace in my heart means the more I can share with others, and more understanding of myself. Like, this has connected so many dots for me. I mean, there were so many things where I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay, now it's coming together. Like, it just connected so much. And now it's like I can just kind of continue forth with the knowledge, and it keeps coming. So thankfully it keeps coming, and, you know, with new things that come out and everything. There's just, I consider myself a lifelong learner. So I feel like this is something that I can learn from for the rest of my life, really, and use.
Do you find that your toolbox gets bigger and bigger, or do you have certain tools that you just really, really are your go-to, like meditation or something like that?
Well, meditation's every day. Like, that's a practice. That's something that I've gotten into because that's really important. I think it can be important for everybody because that's your time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a practice. It's something that even though I've done it for so long, I still have issues. Like, I still can't. Some days there's something that happened, and it's like I have to do the hamster meditation within my meditation because I have to get the hamsters out because they're all running on the wheels. And I'm like, you know, you're just kind of like, everybody quiet. We're trying to be quiet here. And so it's not always perfect. It's something that I will always continue. It's like, I want to get the little bits of information as much as I can. So I have to meditate, like, since I've had things happen. So I always try to encourage other people when they are in there saying, I don't know about meditating, but I love GCP. GCP is necessary. And I will tell you that my dog has dreams while we're in sacred space sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to GCP sometimes twice, but then he'll calm down. It's amazing. He'll calm down, or one of my earbuds won't work, and I do another GCP and it starts working again. And it is super amazing. And I've also had a lady yell at me in the park. I have to tell this story because it was the funniest thing. I let my dog run around the softball field, which no dogs allowed. You're not supposed to do that, but nobody was around, of course, you know, here's me.
Right.
But I mean, nobody was there, you know, and he doesn't do anything. I make sure he does everything before that, going in that area. And this lady couldn't control her dog. And she reminded me of an angry Pomeranian. She was like yelling at me, like, and I was just standing there staring at her. And I felt like I had a spiritual Wonder Woman in front of me with her little, you know, her gold cuffs. And she was just, boom, 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 and it was just bouncing off of me. And I said, come on, Noah, we don't have time for this. You know, and I did, I took him off the field because he didn't listen to me, but not because she yelled at me, but because he wasn't listening. And I was like, you know, we need to go. But that, I could feel it. Like, you can feel the barrier of the GCP. It's just amazing.
And for you as an empath, I mean, that's huge. That's absolutely huge.
I've been brought to tears before.
Yeah, you didn't spend the rest of your day carrying that woman's anger.
No, I didn't. In fact, I kind of thought it was funny. I kept picturing a Pomeranian dog jumping, you know how they bark and they pop at the same time?
Yeah.
That was really cool. That was, and I just laughed. I was like, that was pretty funny. You know, obviously, and then you go back to the fact that something within her, you know, it's something within her too. And it's interesting to kind of look at from that perspective. You have a whole new perspective on things.
Yes. That's the biggest piece for GCP for me is, you know, ground clear and protect practice is just all of a sudden you see things through your own energy body instead of through an energy body filled with everyone else's stuff. and perspective. And so it's probably the most unique feeling to be like, it's all me in here, you know?
Exactly.
And then you feel like you have so
Exactly.
much to give too.
Right.
Which
Right.
is
And then you
so
can
much
say,
fun.
I love me to that person. I love me.
I love me.
I love me.
Exactly.
It's hard to say that. It's hard to say. It's hard to get used to saying that, but that's something else I've gotten used to. Just say I love me.
Yes.
It has a ring to it after a while.
Mm-hmm. And then it becomes just a part of you, which is actually the true part of you that was there from the beginning anyway.
Exactly. The authentic self.
I love that.
Find yourself and where you came from, the love.
Mm-hmm. To be that
So,
connected.
that's right.
Well, I would love to ask if you had one or two pieces of advice for somebody that's walking their spiritual path, what would you tell them?
Definitely be persistent and consistent, and always believe in yourself. Never underestimate yourself. You're an extremely we all, we're very extremely powerful beings, and we're capable of so much. And when it goes out into pure love, like, it gives me goosebumps. And I know you send it out with the pure love, it's just even that much stronger. So just keep going. Just keep going. Keep doing the practices, and again and again. And eventually things will really, like, I feel like you just sort of hit this point where, and then sometimes when you're going along, you're doing the exercises, you have to notice those little things, because sometimes it's something that's right there, but you just didn't see it. It's just right there, and you're like, okay, there it is. And then you kind of go from there, and it can really domino effect. So I always say, just keep going, just keep swimming.
Just keep
Just keep
swimming.
swimming.
Persistence. I absolutely love that. And you are a shining example of that. The daily meditation and checking in, and more opens and more balances.
Exactly.
And just
Exactly.
like firm kind of stance on your actual spiritual path.
Right. And then when you put yourself out into the world, you're more your authentic self, because I think I'm so grateful for that foundation that I came from with my grandparents and them, and how they said, this is love, do stuff. And that's another good thing. Good point is, when you do something, when you pour your intention out, when you're putting your intentions out, put the oomph into it, do it like you mean it,
Do it
because
like you mean
sometimes,
it.
yeah, because sometimes you can just say, I want to, I'm intending to do this, or, you're not really kind of meditating on it. You're not really thinking of it. It's still powerful. It's still thoughts turn to things. But if you can feel it, if you can conjure that and get to that lottery winning feeling, you can really roll with that. And then when you put yourself and other things into the world, then you're really shining your light super bright.
Super bright. Super bright. That is so wonderful. Kristen, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope I could help some people
Oh,
too. I'm always that helper person.
you are speaking to our people. Yes, compassionate, giving, helping people. And just for you to share your story here with me today and with everyone else means a lot to me. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for everything you've done and created. Thank you. Bottom of my heart.
Bottom of my heart, love to you.
Love to you.